Oh, there's no need for intros. Yeah, I have a separate intro.
Okay. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, cheery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and urging about something.
Arguing. Arguing about something.
I'm dyslexic! Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my head. I'm not gonna be able...
Close to my bed, not
Bed?
head.
Do you want to read it?
You started reading on your own, so you're reading now.
Potatoes. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. I love the hiccups.
Burped.
The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rusty whistling swaying back and forth.
Rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth.
If you keep correcting me, you read it. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Hey, put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are.
I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. Conan the Barbarian. You look at the kid, you're like, oh, this nice kid, probably reading like some physics book. Nope, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Seems about right. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic, she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials. She's got crumbs on her face.
It's so cute!
Yes.
You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it.
I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy ancients welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the
Casado Odyssey.
Casado Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with cold glare from her green eyes.
What did I just say?
I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before batting the nasty porridge once again. I'm not even in the... Am I eating it on the floor? Oh, I felt around for the spoon. What is this carved on the other side of the table? Karina?
Karina.
That's supposed to be an R or a P?
It looks like Capina.
Yeah.
There is something else it sounds like, but then again, copyright.
Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age, sitting underneath this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sound coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming into my mom's little room, sitting on the edge of her bed where Ola sleeps nowadays, and saying this in her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you underground. And that would be it. I'm getting heavy Alice in Wonderland vibes.
I am too.
Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. My parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in on one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for a funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time to close, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures, the gray faces of my ancestors. They all had died, had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olia was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There was a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of the frost-formed picture on the glass. Oh yeah, look, a fox.
Where?
They almost look like the optical illusion things they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a bit and look under a certain angle. No, not outside, on the window. Look, there's a nose, and here's...
Hey, eat up.
Yes, just a moment.
I don't see anything. Hurry up, there's not much left. Ah, there it is. But it still doesn't look like one.
And I'm telling you, it does.
Nuh-uh.
It does.
Stop it, these kids, I swear.
Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty patterns similar to two sketched out needle leaves kept creeping on the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I wanted to have a beard like him when I grow up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olia always covers her ears whenever she hears saying like, "What's the point in all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply. "For the sake of our family." I always caught every sound of fear of hearing the most dreaded, deadliest word that started with a D. Divid? I don't even want to finish it. Oh. Divorce.
Oh no.
It was scary to imagine that me
No.
and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families.
Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window.
You and your owl talk again.
You said you believed me just yesterday.
Has anyone seen my car keys? I remember leaving them on the windowsill.
Right. Maybe you did, maybe not. You're a grown man and a father of two still.
And still.
And still.
Karina, please stop. Just let me get ready in peace.
Your keys are in the basket near the phone.
Well, thank you very much. And stop making a matter out of yourself and finish eating already.
And the owl?
There was no owl.
But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes.
Oya sprung up from her chair and placed her hand on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers the size of an apple each. Last year you had Baiba in your closet, but I saw it. I misflicked.
But I saw it.
Oya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you ever thought of befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice.
Don't bully our girl. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little.
Oya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. That look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he had just found. A minute had passed, and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on an incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. It's so easy to fix that just by gluing them back together, for example. How do you fix a relationship? Ooh.
Duct tape? Duct tape fixes everything.
No, Gorilla tape. No, Flex tape. Flex tape fixes everything.
Copyright.
They can't copyright a name.
Okay.
It's not like I'm using the name for my own use.
Yeah, true.
Mom moved to the living room, and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Oyla had trouble sleeping ever since she moved to this house. She would toss and turn and curl up in a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. And then Oyla said she saw a giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of these ridiculous fears. Oyla refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure of what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can night bears be infectious? Just
Maybe.
last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep. Ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind the desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gapped in the middle of their face, and a pair of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creature were looking back at me from behind the flat, black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe.
Ooh.
Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down? Stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I don't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who were just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanged on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Euler begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds, just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will be like me after all. Who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? Excuse me, I feel attacked.
Potatoes.
I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little. Now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbors' drills, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from a big family next door. Our current house, though, I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day, its shadows like dormant in the corners on the closet, closest went cobwebs and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaky, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed with the sound of wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that the music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing it there amidst a cold, snowy night, right?
Okay, so we can only click to open the window. Oh.
Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in the moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around, and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing on the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment, then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly the music had stopped. Dancing shadows froze in place, and I could hear, piercing me, I could swear it pierced me with behind their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival, sprinted across the field with giant leaps. It glided on a squeaky snow without leaving any print until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside a cage. I closed the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back towards the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of the perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guest move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right. It circled around the house. And now, my guest should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with a blanket, as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remember the funeral, my grandma lying there, hand crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp, like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the laid chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up, her head full, up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets. She'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I repeated the same words. On the island of Buigan, underneath the blemished sun and the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair for the spawn from Devil's Lair to feast and always leave alone. God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil leave this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from underneath the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new potential of boiling terror. The sound scratched on my eardrums. In reality, something or someone was scratching at the front door, hurriedly crawling at the wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hugged my knees, planting my chin between them and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then...
No.
The doorknob twitched slightly, then turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then started fiddling violently. My jaw clamped and my fingers wet clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning like the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. Darkness withered inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Tony. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling and snarled by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for who had weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. Before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, "Tony, you asleep?" My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. "Ola, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen?" Ola frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry.
It's there again, staring at me. Show her away, Tony, please. I'm so scared.
The fear that was tormenting me just now a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm all that down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olia sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video. Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you?
Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird?
That question took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? Was studying with their eyes while dancing frivolously under the moon. The darkness was clamping into the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair.
Tony, you coming?
Yes, just a moment.
I thought you said there were no jump scares.
I haven't played it yet. Oh, animated.
That's why I didn't want to laugh at safeties. Empty slot.
I'll make a recording for a half hour at a time with this. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Olia and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a sleep thought that our morning guest could have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet? Under the table? Behind the curtains where Ola always hides?
Tony, come here.
I felt like kettleballs were tied to my feet, but still dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and dribbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused. Hello? The senior officer who wore a grim expression nodded.
A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name, Vova. Look at this, please. Have you seen him?
The police handed out a photograph to me.
Oh, he's cute.
There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a cat with a wall carpet as the backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. No, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house. Well, maybe you've seen him from the window?
That's right. Your windows look straight out at the forest, don't they?
The window. No, I haven't seen anything. I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt, which his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed for some reason. How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it?
Bit by bit, it's just our little daughter misses the city a lot.
Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well?
Yes, everything is all right. Thank you.
The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started spinning. Can I help you somehow? I asked in a shaky voice that looked like a polite boy, and to the end with this unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, He looked just like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy around your age, wears his Santa goggles, always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Told me he wanted to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer. Wanted to help people just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative, and not a police officer, stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay at home, steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected with a cold voice.
You don't say.
Well then. What grade are you in, Tony boy? 6th? Have you made any friends here so far? Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break. Then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were gone, along with their shadows, the smell of Cleep cologne, and the photo of a smiling boy. His face stood still before my eyes. I wondered what it was like for him, being all alone there. For some reason, I thought of the forest, swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I'd gone missing? Would they try and thrash around hysterically? Or would they just accuse each other like they always do? Forget about me eventually. Mom, this Volva, did he go missing in our forest?
Seems like it, poor child.
I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remembered all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries here. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam, solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led to the forest. And then it slipped to my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Oya will be so happy. And not only Oya, my mom and dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe they'll even save us from the D word. I'm fascinated about buying Oya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. A whole bunch of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I need a drink. I had little to no idea what the accountant's job's like. They count money, I think? Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely have money to afford sweets. Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Oya.
Sometimes I gave her my share too.
Hey, you can read for a bit. I need a drink.
No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues. I'm going outside. Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next?
Yeah.
The forest is so thick. What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals, or even worse?
Even worse, echoed through the hallway. I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest.
Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself? Better go pack your school bag or play with Oya.
The sound of sloshing water came from the kitchen. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. I think I'm gonna save it here. Call it for part 1.
Okay.
Yes. And I think that'll be it for part 1.